introduce this thing. Hello, can you make sure I'm in the shot, bro?
Sure.
That my head is...
Perfect.
Okay, well, did we lose the juicers on that though?
No.
I don't get the juicers as much and just get me to the top of my head.
There you go.
Got it?
Yep.
Okay. Hey everyone, this is Dan McDonald. I want to thank you for joining me. Raw Food 101. We're going to go over the basics today. I got an opportunity to do an impromptu raw food class for some friends. And so I thought it would be a great idea to make some videos and so that we can just get some more of the basic information out there, because I know that about 95% of you are just like have not too much of an idea of what's going on when it comes to the raw food. So I think today we're going to try to do a juice, which is a lemon ginger blast. Many of you have seen this many times before. We're going to put together a real simple smoothie, I think, and then we'll put together a nice little salad. I also wanted to let you know before I get started that on my website I also have more information available through the sale of DVDs. I have 5 DVDs available, which is jam-packed with recipes, information, and inspiration that you can use to continually learn about this, learn about the way to eat, which nourishes every cell in your body and can be, and has been for many people, totally transformative. So hopefully today everyone here is transformed or transformed a little bit more through the raw food, raw living food, fresh food, easily digestible, energizes the cells, leaves behind the least amount of metabolic waste. What we have is an issue of metabolic waste, and we have diseases and cancer, and it's all real simple in that we have to open up the channels of detoxification. Many of them are just simply closed off by being clogged up because the food that we eat is so cheesy and bready, and it's so foreign to the body, and after a while these heavier mucus forming foods just leave behind waste. And you know, nobody here looks terribly ill, but I bet you everyone here could feel better. And there's different levels. There's the beginning, there's the middle, there's advanced, and then you get into these super levels of advanced where you realize that your body's in good shape and there's just other things in your mind that need to be worked on. Different types of energy flows. And so this raw food thing doesn't just go to calorie counting or being an athlete or even being more beautiful, but it can be totally transformative, taken to its end, you know, and brought into the realm of being a spiritual pathway, you know, for total regeneration of your whole spirit so that you can be a light in the world. That's really underlying the mission for me. I mean, the raw foods, of course, started out as the beauty, as the energy. I mean, I started out as a bodybuilder, really. And then I read the book, The Essene Gospel of Peace, and it was just my whole life changed so rapidly. And it was about living foods and fasting and returning back to nature's simplicity, eating the living food. It says in there, you know, when you cook your food, you kill your food. And that's the fire of death. The fire of life is the life inside your blood, in your lungs. It's the fire of life inside of you, the light. So we're just constantly trying to share to the best of our ability how we can, you know, cultivate that light and then bring that onto the earth to just be a benefit to mankind. So raw food in a clean body is a prerequisite to a successful spiritual life, you know. And most people never wake up because our society's gone so downhill. There's all these talk about advancements and whatnot, but if you know what's really going on, you can see that the whole thing is just, people are sick. They're not awake. They're sleepwalking through life, and there's a lot of suffering and sadness and misery when the sun is shining so bright, you know, and the flowers are growing. So we want to wake up to the beauty of the moment with the, you know, with the nature and God. And raw food is just one way to, you know, some of you just want to get rid of a disease. Raw food is the way. Many of you might even be where I'm at, where I'm using raw food as a spiritual path to cleanse and heal and regenerate not only my body but my spirit as well. You know, so today we're going to make a lemon ginger blast. Many of you have seen this before, but if you haven't, and hopefully you guys will have some questions so that we can interact. Question?
Yeah. Should you
do like a cleanse? You mentioned that we're kind of clogged up with a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Should we do like a cleanse before we even start juicing, or is it?
You know, you can, but the best thing for the most amount of people is just to just eat some fruits and vegetables today. That's it. Just go to the store. You know, you don't have to be wild and crazy. Like, there's some people that are dying, and I say, you know, you're gonna, if you don't do something real fast, you're gonna be out of here. And I say, you know, just toss out all the junk. Go to your refrigerator and throw out everything that's just gross. It's just dead, cheesy, cream cheesy, all those mustard sauces and everything that just messes up your taste buds, and then you can't eat a pepper because you have to have barbecue sauce on it or whatever, and then that just, and it's not about the pepper anymore. It's really about, you just eat around the sauces. You're not thinking about the fresh food, which actually has a lot of flavor once you've taken a few weeks or a few months to regenerate the taste buds. And then you taste this, and you can taste the salt in celery. And if you go off salt for a few weeks, or a week even, and then you eat like, if you go off this salt, and then you go back on the salt, you're like, whoa, this is way too salty, but a week ago you wouldn't have said that. But what you really want to learn how to do is savor the simple flavors in these foods. Now hopefully you're getting good foods from good farmers with good soil. That's the thing about raw foods. You have to learn how to pick your foods, and it takes the time to educate yourself. The better a tomato tastes, the more likely you're able to eat that tomato without sauces or without doing anything to it. But one of those tomatoes from Safeway that tastes like wet air, you're going to be like, just give me that salt and this spice and this and that. You're going to cook it up, and then it's all gone. So find good, wholesome foods. You know, organic foods have more flavor because they have more minerals, and it's the minerals that give food its flavor. And your body wants those minerals, enzymes, and phytonutrients, you know, which are biocatalysts to functions in the body. And when our bodies, you know, run out of these cell salts, which neutralize metabolic waste and excess proteins, turns them into neutral salts so they can be eliminated through the kidneys. These are more the energizing. Raw food is energizing and cleansing. And then you just stay like that. How much energy do you need? You just need to feed the cells in your body. All this stuff about milligrams of protein and carbohydrates and numbers and all that, it's like, eat when you're hungry and eat the right food. And if you're not hungry, then you don't want to have a mental trip in your head. They said I need to eat 5,000 calories today, and you're not even hungry. Yeah. Probably you didn't do anything yesterday. Maybe you're stressed. When you're stressed, you're not hungry. Unless you're eating for stress, and that's your trip. If food is your drug, you're stressed out, and that's your way. But what you really want is a true hunger, a true need for these cell salts, minerals, vitamins, sugars, and then you digest well, you're eating in a calm state of mind, and you're energizing. Raw foods is like common sense 101 basic knowledge for life, and guess who knows about it? Maybe 0.1% of the population. Now there's going to be an expanse in this, but we're all drug addicts. We're drug addicts on food and everything else. And you drink beer and you do the other stuff, and then you want a cheeseburger. You don't drink beer and want an apple because all the carbohydrates in the beer, you want protein and stuff to bring you back down because your alcohol's a sugar high. You know what I mean? Don't worry about the kids, it'll make it more real.
I have a question. Do you necessarily have to be vegan to be on the raw diet? Is there a transition period?
There's always a transition period unless you're on your way out. Mm-hmm. Some people do this overnight and never look back, and they have the best success stories. Mm-hmm. Other people, they're not. It's not so, you know, it's not so immediate, but and so it's a little bit more slow. They play with it. I was unique in the sense that I was pretty healthy. I had some psychological issues and some drug addiction issues and everything, you know, a lot of mental type stuff from childhood and whatnot. But when I read about this, about the raw foods, I changed. I went 100%. Now, did I do I just knew in my mind, like, I am a raw fooder now. I had never really heard of it before that day. But I said, this book made so much sense. It opened my heart up and totally transformed my life. You know, not just in food, but in every single way. It was the first spiritual book I'd ever read about Jesus and the angels of sun and the angels of water and the living foods and the fire of life. It was just like this thing. And it was the first time I really heard about fasting, other than these crazy people in the Bible that did it. But it makes it all etheric. Like, oh, Jesus did it, but I'm not Jesus. I can't fast. I thought it was some mysterious thing. Well, fasting is just, you know, basic. Every sick animal just goes and lays down and doesn't eat and just waits till its body heals, and then it gets up and walks off and starts to eat again. But we've lost all instinct and intuition, you know. So.
Well, you said that food is a drug. So if you get off the meats and cheeses and chemicals, is there a physical reaction that your body has to giving up all that stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Cold turkey? Is it a withdrawal kind of
It's
reaction?
a withdrawal. It's an aggravated withdrawal because there's so many aspects to your body that call out for that. Mm-hmm. Psychological, you know, and as far as the body ecology, it's like you feed these microorganisms every day sugar. As soon as you pull out the sugar, they're like, yo, man, what in the hell is up? And you're like, I'm not supposed to eat sugar. My doctor said no, it's messing up my teeth, my hair, I'm depressed, I have hypoglycemia. You know, you're supposed to stay off the white sugar, but those little suckers in there, they get white sugar every day for 40 years. And now that you realize that, oh, this hypoglycemia makes me dangerous, you know. Hypoglycemia, you know, someone's on the downside of a hypoglycemia trip, they kill people, run over their kids, I mean, suicide, homicide.
Are there certain recipes that help ease that reaction that you might have?
You know, that's the thing. I mean, just when you're tripping, just go get a bunch of raw food. Keep raw food around all the time. When you start getting the EBGBs for some sugar, bust out a pineapple, if you can find a good one. Pineapple's not my favorite example, but some type of, just make like orange juice. That's all I had today, orange juice. I just had a big old glass of OJ. I was full. I was energized. I felt that was like the best meal I've had in a long time. It's just 2 jars of orange juice, and I'm still going strong. And so the whole mystery of the myth of all that stuff, it's a lot of it's mental. You know, there's a lot to it, but there is going to be some withdrawals. I mean, you know, to this very day, you know, I still deal with it. I get cleaner and simpler and cleaner and simpler, but it's an uphill push, sometimes quite a bit. I mean, I've been pushing uphill, uphill for 11 years now, because it always wants to go back to the way that it was. There's nothing like sitting there with a belly full of cooked hot food, and now all your problems just sort of melt away, because your consciousness leaves what it wants you to be looking at, reality. It just, all the energy goes down into your stomach, and you're just kind of like, well, it's alright, I guess. I'll deal with my shit tomorrow. But really, you want to stay awake. So when you eat raw food, it's a lot harder to drug yourself up on raw food. It can be done. You get enough coconut cashew cheesecake, and you're going to be, oh, well, I guess I'm all raw, though. You're still knocked out. So there's different levels to it. You don't want to be mad at anybody or judge anyone, because I went through all those phases. I went through the chocolate phase, the coconut cashew cheesecake, where we were laughing so hard about, we were talking about 12 steps, you know, for cashew cheesecake addicts, you know. Raw food, what was it? 12-step program. I'm addicted to raw food, you know, but it's coconut cashew cheesecake. I remember we were sitting around, and it was a David Wolf thing, and me and Goji Girl, we were at a retreat. We were just laughing. I swear it came out my nose, because I think I ate like a half a pie. And everybody was just laughing. How can you eat so much, you know? And I was just like, it was just funny. And everybody goes through that. And, you know, everybody's a little bit different. Some people are much more mentally strong. I'm pretty sensitive, so it takes me a lot of work. But there's other people that have more of a stronger constitution, a heavier mind state, that can just say, I'm doing it, and then do it. I mean, I had binges like you wouldn't believe. I'd go raw, I'd be raw for 6 months, and just, I'd have some stress, and I'd eat like, there were times when I ate a whole loaf of bread and a dozen eggs in one sitting. Or other things I would do, I'd be freaking out. I'd go to IHOP and eat so much pancakes and I'd just say, bring more butter, lady, bring more butter. And then like a whole jar of syrup and all those carbs would just, because it's, you know, learning how to deal with your stuff, all your trauma and stress of your life. And food is the last late great drug. What's interesting about food is you can go without sex, you can go without drugs, you can go without everything. But there's one thing that after a while, if you go without, you will be leaving this place other than air, water, air, and food. But as far as habits go, eating habits, it's tough because, you know, you have to eat. So, but you don't have to eat all this stuff that they talk about. You don't have to eat animal protein. I don't even think little babies need it. There's all these myths. But you know the healthiest babies I've ever seen are vegetarian babies, for sure. And the healthier ones than that are way smarter and way more like right there are the little raw vegan babies. But they keep themselves hidden because they're a little thinner and everybody freaks out. You're abusing your child. Well, their child over there is like 20 pounds overweight, snot running out their nose, crying, miserable. You're abusing your child! Here's the little raw vegan baby, bright eyes, totally stoked, talking to the adults, you know, 2 or 3 years old, hanging out with the adults, totally content, no snotty nose, has never been sick, and yet it's a little bit thinner, and everybody's like, you're an abusive, and they try to call the CPS and everything. It's crazy. So the raw vegan parents, they just hide out, man. They don't tell anybody. Now, I'm not saying that an egg yolk every once in a while for some type of brain, all these kind of things can come up. I've read every story there is. Yoga people that are raw for 12 years and then all of a sudden the body says, you need 3 eggs. She eats 3 egg yolks, boom, right back to the raw. I mean, things like this can happen. Once you're that astute, it'll talk to you very clearly. So there's no room for judgment. And without meat, we wouldn't have made it this far. Meat is a survival food, you know, because we're way out of our climate. We go up north where it's freezing balls. Guess what? There ain't no red peppers growing in the middle of winter. You got deer and venison. That's the same. I mean, you got elk and venison. So take your pick, you know what I mean? And you're eating that for survival. The karma's a lot different than going out and killing an elk for its horns and leaving the meat there. And your family's not even hungry because you could have went to Safeway and just bought some, cow meat now to make your stew that way. So there's just little things to consider, but I haven't had animal protein. Well, I did have eggs for a period there when I was in New York. It was cold as hell and it was so crazy. So there's different reasons. So what I do is because it's important to me to be a raw food person, because that just means a lot to me. Not only is it my job, but it was the day that I read that book, it became a declaration. It became something that I knew that I had to do. And so I come down and instead of staying in Seattle and trying to figure out how to stay warm, which I did for years with nuts and nut sauces and things like that, which are more warming. Also other little tricks of the trade, hot springs, when you're freezing your balls off, lots of heat, more clothes, But the meat is a warming and it's a survival food. So I try not to give anyone a hard time. I recommend against meat eating, especially in disease conditions. And then overall general health of your consciousness and the cleansing of the nadis, the cleansing of the chakras. Meat has kind of got a sludgy vibe. It's almost a sludgy, it's like modern pasteurized dairy. Nothing to me is as bad as the modern pasteurized dairy for the human organism as far as the energy being able to flow through the meridians. Fruits and vegetables, the water here, bam. Clear, easy, simple, hydrating, alkalizing, penetrating, lots of cell salts, lots and lots of raw food. I mean, I've lived off a really clean 3 weeks, no fat, no salt, no spices, a little bit of garlic, some hot peppers. I'm breaking off the hot peppers. I think we'll leave the hot peppers even out of today's, is what we decided to do. But the habanero and the lemon ginger bass, which we're about to do, is pretty good. It opens things up. It's not bad. It can after a while, too many hot peppers can be aggravating. I think I got into a state of that for a while. So Other than that, let's make a lemon ginger blast, and then we'll move on. You guys can ask questions. I'm gonna do the big stuff in the Breville. This is an omega juicer. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'm gonna have Hilda do the greens. What I'm gonna have her do is the mint. The mint does not do well. The cilantro doesn't do great. The parsley doesn't do great. Those get shredded up and thrown off. So what I like to do is do those in this one. So a lot of times if it's just me or someone else, I'll take the 20-30 minutes to make a lemon ginger blast, a couple jars of juice for me in this one. Otherwise I can make a lemon ginger blast in like 5 minutes with this one, but you don't get the herbal. Okay, so people ask me, what's better, juicing or blending? Well, neither one's better than the other. They're both arsenal in your raw food diet. And just all I want to say is this should sum it up, is that juicing is more therapeutic. And this looks good?
Low battery.
Low battery. Bummer. Huh, I swear I charged that thing up. Well, anyone else have a camera? You can download the files to me?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's going to have to be Raw Food 101. We'll run this thing out until it's gone and it'll shut off. I might have 5 or 10 minutes left. Sorry about that. I could have swore I charged that thing up all night last night. Anyways, do you have any batteries?
Oh, does it take regular batteries?
Yeah, AA. It's actually, I think maybe the battery, they wear out, don't they? The rechargers?
Yeah.
Anyways, the rechargers kind of, they wear out and they just don't charge anymore.
Yeah.
Well, then I'll probably have to start using regular batteries. But anyways, let's do a lemon ginger blast, and you can do some cilantro and some mint, and I'll do the apple, celery, cucumber, lemon, and spinach, and we're going to do cilantro and mint as well, and some ginger also. So she's going to do the ginger because the ginger goes better in the omega as well. And the difference between the juicing and the blending is that the juicing is more therapeutic and the blending is easier. And the fiber is good, but if you're in a therapy mode and you're like have a disease or something that you really need to get rid of like right quick, you can just bam, 3 to 6 jars of juice a day and a lot of rest. Wash your body, get those cell salts in there, and learn how to rest. Learn how to maximize your saving of your energy. Now nobody here's sick or anything like that. You guys are all looking really good, solid. And you probably just want to trim up, tone up, get a little more color in your skin, you know. Keep your teeth nice with the greens, so chew on the kale, and just overall feel better, because there's a lot of electricity in these foods. It's a very subtle energy. And here's another thing for Raw Food 101. Okay, the food that you eat turns into chyle. The enzymes and in your pancreas and your gallbladder and your throat. The chyle is absorbed through the small intestine and large intestine and turns into blood. Blood turns into the flesh, and flesh turns into the fat. And then fat turns into the bone marrow, and the bone marrow turns into the sexual fluids, energy. For men, it's semen, and for the women, it's other different feminine secretions, which aren't necessarily as manifest as the semen, but in other words, the food that you eat creates the body that you live in. It's so however you want your body to be, then eat that food. But all the numbers and the counting and all the statistical scientific data has been disproven by laymen over and over and over again. But there's no money in the health of the people. So this information of the herbology and the fasting and the raw foods has to be suppressed at all costs. This is why this is so cool for me. And we're living in a time where they can't stop the freedom anymore. We've got YouTube, and we can bring this truth to the people. And they can just go out and get well. Having start on the raw food, your doctor bills are going to go like from here to like, when's the last time I did go to the doctor? I haven't been to the doctor in definitely since I started this. I got run over by a bus once and broke my hand, but then I got strung out on the Vicodin, and I was like, okay, this is how that's going to work. I should have just popped my bone back in and went home, but I'd rather have the doctor do it, and it turned out okay. But you know, this is what you want to learn, because you don't want to be sick. And so this is the truth of the matter. The arugula, the cilantro, these are the herbs. I mean, just think of fruits and herbs. Raw Food 101, fruits and herbs. And then when in the winter time, you're talking about squashes and gourds and soaked nuts. The nuts stay over from the growth of the spring and the summer in the nut store. And you only need 2 or 3 different sorts of food at a time. We are all gourmands, even the raw food people. Today I had orange juice. Best day of my life. Mental clarity, massive energy, easily digestible. It filled me up, satisfied me in a way that I haven't been satisfied in a long time. Because all these fancy things that we try to do with raw foods to sort of appease our senses, that takes some time. Take your time with that. Learn about this. You know, use your sea salt, use the herbs and things, but just try to break yourself off of like donuts and bread and dairy products and, you know, overcooked meat. You know, I mean, meat is less offensive than like the dairy. Meat can even be considered less offensive than the processed carbohydrates. Now, some people will think about the karmic reasons, but there is also always context. If you're eating meat to survive and feed your children, to stay alive, that's one thing other than, like I said, going out and hunting and killing something for its horns, which is, you know, that is brutal, you know, insanity, really. If you think about it, I'm going to kill that thing so I can have this. There's no sense of, you know, the appreciation for life, so the hunter doesn't appreciate, you know, his own life. You kind of feel sorry for him. Like, that's what life means to you, to go and kill this thing for its horns? Because you think you have a big set? You don't. You have a small set when you kill something else. It takes big balls to be a real man, to love life, even when it's unpopular, and to break traditions such as hunting. If you go out to feed your family, that's another thing. And meat is not as hard on the body, especially if it's raw. You know, raw meat. Like, if I was going to eat meat, I would eat it raw. Here's what I'll tell you the truth about the meat for me. If I was going to eat meat, I would kill the animal right there, and while the blood was hot and had oxygen in it, I would eat its heart and liver and its flesh while the blood was still warm. Because once the blood goes stagnant, you're just becoming a scavenger. So drink the blood. But see, no one's going to do that. That's real life. That'd be like, you want to eat that animal while its heart is still beating. And that's the only way that it would be fresh. This thing is still vibrating with life. It has a mechanism, but the animal blood putrefies. And it goes bad, like within minutes. So a piece of animal is just, you know, an animal body in putrid blood. And that's what the scavengers eat. And it's just not, I don't think it's the divine way to eat, in my humble opinion. That could change later on. It's unlikely. Something about the meat, it just was the easiest thing for me. I went raw. I think I ate meat 3 times after that. Once when I was drunk, and I burped up taco meat 3 days later, and I said, okay, that doesn't digest very well. There was another time where I was freaking out, and I went and had, this was all within the first like 2 years of raw food. And there was another time where I ate these chicken tacos, and that made me sick as hell. And then there was another time where all these people were giving me a hard time. I mean, just coming down on me like crazy, because I was making them feel bad. So I was like, no, I'll just have this broccoli. Like, you can't just eat broccoli. I'm like, I can eat raw broccoli in a Chinese restaurant. And they were just tripping. And I was just like, fuck. After about like 2 hours of this crap, I grabbed a piece of chicken and I showed everybody. And I said, now will you shut up? I'm not afraid. It's not for any of the reasons that you think. And they just shut up. They were like, whoa, we really got you. Like, but it was, because I'm not it's like, whatever. It's not like God's going to judge you for eating meat. But I don't know why I just did that, but it shut up about 15 people right quick. Whoa, you know. Like, this is some serious, I don't know why I did that or what the signification was, but it didn't make me sick or anything like that. It was just a little piece of chicken from a Chinese restaurant. And that was the last piece of meat I ever ate. And I don't have any interest in it. It was one of giving up the meat was the easiest thing, because it said, when you eat meat, you eat your brother. That made a lot of sense to me. I realized that I had been in the scene in a past life before that. you know, and I picked up right where I left off because I had always bathed myself in the cold rivers, even before I read that book. I had no idea why I get up every single morning to go jump in the river. I mean, I had no idea till I read this book and they talked about the Essenes doing that every day. And I was like, whoa. And then all these memories started coming back to me about being an Essene and all these things that were habits of mine. And then the raw foods, of course, the Essenes ate living food, fruits and vegetables, you know. So let's make an LGB and then we'll keep doing questions.
Dan,
okay?
do you want to pause this so we can put the batteries in?
Yeah, let's take a pause. Thank you.